acceptance comes after some actions. 6 and 7, the acceptance comes after the action of 6 and 7. You know, there's a story in another book about this guy named Judas. Judas could not accept what he had done, what he did. That's the importance of acceptance. And you can't accept anything unless you take some actions. And he didn't do steps 6 and 7 didn't have any. And the other story is that there's a story in this other book by this guy. His name was Saul. Saul was riding his ass on the way to Damascus. Big bolt of lightning come down, knocked him off his ass on his ass. That's the way I do it. He gets up and he dusts himself off, and this big voice come out of the sky and says, "Saul, can we talk?" Yeah, we can talk. What do you want to talk about? Had to get his attention, didn't he? Maybe alcoholism had to get our attention. And he said, "Yeah, Saul, you've been a very selfish individual. You've harmed a lot of people, and very resentful and angry. You've harmed a lot of people by those attitudes." He said, "I want you to quit doing that." And he said, "Well, how do you quit doing that?" He said, "Well, do these things. If you do that, then you'll make a change. And when you change, then we'll call you Paul." Well, he did those things and became Paul. Now, we know that Paul was one of the greatest writers the world's ever known. And in the Corinthians, the town of Corinthians, they asked Paul one day, said, "Paul," said, "what is the secret to living?" And he said, "The secret to living is daily dying. The old Saul had to die, so the new Paul came to life." 6 and 7. By the time I got to 6 and 7, I could see what I had become as a result of the previous steps. I didn't like what I had become. And a little doubt creeped in my mind. Can God really change me from what I had become, what I intended to do? And I had to reaffirm and rethink about this idea of faith that he said, "God either is or he isn't. He either can or he can't. What was my choice going to be?" And I chose to believe he could. The tools of change, to change from what I had become to that which God intended for me. 6 and 7. Two of the biggest steps, and all about consequences.
And just before the break, I want Joe to tell you one little story about buying some stout liquor to show you practicing this thing.
I was hoping he would do that. A few years ago, I went to the grocery store to buy some salad and some stuff to fix for a salad. That night was having steak, and I went in there and bought this stuff. Came back up to the register, and I was going to pay up. I gave this lady $10. She took the $10 and stood right there and counted me out change for a 20. I watched her do it. And I picked up that money and I put it in my pocket, and I got out of my car and I sat there and I said, "Big dummy. You sold out for $10. I thought it was worth more than that. You know? I'm glad it wasn't less than that. And so I took the money back in there and I told the lady, I said, "You know, I'm a member of the fellowship that requires me to be honest. You gave me too much money. I want to give you this $10 back." And she said, "You know, I never heard of a fellowship like that." I said, "Well, I hadn't either until a few years ago." So here's the $10. Well, the whole point of this story, when I walked out of that $10, and believe me, I don't need $10. I do not need $10. And I walked out of that store and I felt about that big, sneaking out the door. You see, then I went back in and gave her that $10 back, and I walked out and I went to it. I did the right thing.
And if you practice that enough times, the next time she gives change for 20, you do it right there. You don't even go out the door with it. That's what we're talking about when we change, and only we can do it. Only we can slay ourselves with God's help and become different human beings. So if you stay dishonest, self-seeking, fright, and inconsideration, must be because you want to. We've completed our first 7 steps, knowing full well we're going to be working on 6 and 7 for the rest of our lives, really, trying to change as the opportunity comes up.
In 0.6 miles,
now, we've read in the book
the left 2 lanes to continue
where we
straight.
are spiritually sick, mentally sick, and physically sick. It says when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. And we begin to look at those things and begin to realize that all human beings really are born to live in 3 dimensions of life. You know, if God dwells in each of us, we're going to have to live with God whether we like it or not. It's beside the point.
Stay in the second lane.
The only question is, do we live with Him in harmony or disharmony? I don't know of anybody that ever got in more disharmonies with God than we alcoholics have. We also have what we call the mental dimension. We've all got a mind. Sometimes we act like we don't, but we do. And we have to live with our mind, whether we like it or not. Beside the point, we don't have any choice. Again, do we live there in harmony or disharmony? I don't know of any group of people that ever got more fouled up in their heads than we alcoholics have. For years, I thought the physical dimension was my body only. Today, I realize the physical dimension is the world and everything in it, period. Now, we alcoholics don't have any place else to live except here on earth. We don't have any choice in the matter.
Car on shoulder reported ahead.
The only question is, do we live on earth with our fellow man in harmony or disharmony? I don't know of any group of people that ever got more fouled up in a relationship with the world and everybody in it than we alcoholics have. So we were sick spiritually, mentally, and physically. The book talks about a design for living. And it looks to us like these steps are designed in such a manner to put us back together and make us well in all three dimensions of life as God intended for us to be in the first place. Step 1, 2, and 3, we got right with the Spirit. Because we were powerless, we saw.
Car on shoulder reported ahead.
And 3, we decided to go after that power.